Hello, my name is Siddharth Varde, and we are going to talk about destructors and inheritance of the constructor and destructors. Okay, so let's start. So let's revise. What are constructors? What are constructors? So constructors are in special kind of functions that gets called by compiler automatically when an object of that class is created. So same goes for destructors too. You know, destructors is also a special kind of function that gets called automatically by a compiler when the object of that class is destroyed. Okay, so okay, sorry about that. Uh, so let's like there are few properties just like constructors. Destructors must be public and they must have the same name as the name of the class, but there is a tilde sign before that name, and they have no return type obviously. And there is one difference between constructor and destructor. There can be multiple constructors in the class, but there is no way there are like there is only one destructor in the class and it has no parameter. Okay, so let me show you the example of destructor. This is the destructor. Like it gets called when an object is destroyed. So let's say like if I allocate some memory or any other thing, if I want to make sure that something happens when this object gets destroyed, then I can do I can do those functionalities in here. Okay, so like this will get called just before the object is destroyed. Okay, uh, so this is it about destructors too. Let's talk about the inheritance of the constructor and destructors. So let's say there is a parent class and a and it has a constructor a. Okay, one constructor, default constructor, and then there is a class of class B that inherits publicly from class A, and it has a constructor of default constructors of itself. So when I create an object of class B, the constructor of class A gets created called automatically. Okay, and after that the constructor of class B gets called. Why is that? Let me explain. So when I create an object, okay, so let's like there is no actual relevance in this example, but let's say there is an function called get health and it's public function. So the second class, child class, inherits from it, so it also has that same function. So what happens if I don't create object of player like parent class, then that function cannot get created. That function does not exist. And if I call from the child if I call that function from the child class, then there is an error. Okay, so to avoid that situation, parent classes object gets created first and then the child classes object gets created. So that's about the constructor. But when something okay, about the destructor, like when the object of the child class is destroyed, the the destructor of child class gets called first, and then the destructor of parent class gets called. So why is that? Let me explain too. Okay, so here let's say okay, the program, when I run this program, it runs line by line. Okay, like this line will execute first, then this line, then this line. So if I create one variable, like let's say player 1 p1, so I can use that variable below that. like in below lines, like uh, p1 dot something. So like right now it doesn't exist, but I can call it like that, uh, and I can use that variable. So like if I delete the p1 first, let's say while destroying the object, if I delete the p1 of this object, then whenever I'm using it, it will throw me an exception of null reference or anything, something like that, that that thing doesn't exist, the p1 doesn't exist, and I'm trying to call it. So like it got destroyed and I'm still trying to call it. So that to avoid those situations when something gets destroyed, like let's say there are p1 and p2, so like this, so p2 will get destroyed first and then the p1. And same thing happens while inheriting too, inheritance goes from parent class to child class. So there are some functionalities that child class can call from the parent class. So I cannot destroy a parent class first, so I need to destroy the child class's object first, and then I need to destroy the object of the parent class. So that's why when the object is destroyed of child class, the destructor of child class gets called first, and then the destructor of parent class gets called, because there are two actual objects. When there is an inheritance, there are actual two objects in one object. If I create the object of child class, so like here there would be two objects. Okay, here there would be two objects, player and ice player. So out of those two, the ice player gets destroyed first, and then the player gets destroyed. Okay, so uh, when I run this program, so like there is a default constructor in the parameterized constructor and destructor in both the classes. So when I run this program, first I create a player class, object of player class with default constructor, then the parameter with the parameterized constructor, then with the I create an object of ice player twice with parameterized constructors. Okay, yes, there is one more thing. If I need to let's say in this case I need to when the object the constructor of parent class is called, it will call a default constructor. Okay, so let's like in this case I inherited here, that's why it is calling the parameterized constructor. Otherwise, whenever the parent class's constructor is called from the child class, this constructor will get executed every time, because like it has no way of knowing, okay, I need to call this on this function, like the parameterized constructor. So to tell the compiler that we need to inherit like here, so like I will accept two values from the main function, and one of the value I will pass to the player class. So I need to inherit from the constructor of player class to the constructor of child class like this, to call the specifically parameterized constructors, not the default constructor. So that is it. So here I will call the parameterized constructor of player class, and then the parameterized constructor of ice player class. Okay, and then here it will also do the same thing, but with the pointers. Okay, so and when it starts to get destroyed, the p4 will get destroyed first, then p3, then p2, then p1. So let's see the order. So this is the first one, default constructor with 0 value. Okay, then the default custom constructor with 50 value, okay, of player class. Then there is a custom constructor of player class from ice player. Okay, so like with the value of 100, from just one single line there are two constructors that got called, like the custom constructor of player and custom constructor of ice player with the 100 values. Okay, the value of 100 health is 100 and the strength is also 100. Then the custom constructor of player with 200, it got called. Okay, and for both the classes, the player and ice player with the values of 200 and 200. Then the destructor of ice player happened first when I deleted p4. So p4 got destroyed and ice player's destructor was called. Then the player's destructor was called. Destructor of player uh, for the ice like coordinates with the p4 got destroyed. Then same thing happened with the 100. The ice player's destructor was called first, then the player's destructor called second, then the destructor of player and with the value 50 and like p2 and p1, the both their destructors got called. And so like you see, the object that we created first gets destroyed last. Okay, so thank you. This is it about constructor and destructors, in inheritance of the constructor and destructors. Thank you.